For many Catholics, a trip to the Vatican is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But what is it like to be there every single day covering it? Well, Ed Pentin, Rome correspondent for EWTN's National Catholic Register, joins us live and in person. It's Ed Pentin, not in Rome.
Good to be with you, Lauren.
Very nice to be with you. Tell us about covering the Vatican for 15 years. How has it changed from then until now?
Well, it's really changed depending on the Pope, and the Popes, of course, have been quite different over these past 15 years. I started with John Paul II there, of course, and he was very frail then, but he was still doing a lot, so it's very interesting to follow his daily workings. And then, of course, Benedict came, and that was more low-key, but very interesting too. And now, of course, you've got Pope Francis, who's
the jet setter.
Who's quite different and never a dull moment.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. Let's get into something you wrote about last week on the Biological Extinction Conference. What are concerns about UN involvement in the Academy of Sciences as it relates to population control and climate change, all of those issues?
Well, there are concerns growing because the Academy has always been open to different viewpoints, and they're happy to have atheists speak and so forth. The difficulty, I think, now is that certain people feel that the UN is having an excessive influence on the Academy. And what you're seeing is that certain issues are becoming more central there, which the UN supports and promotes, like population control, although that wasn't specifically mentioned at the last conference, but it is something that's sort of underlying that conference. And so you've got these different issues, and the climate change, of course, which is being pushed now by the Academy as a proven science. So there's little room for the other side, if you like. So it's becoming a single issue almost.
Well, speaking of issues, what do you think the most critical issues are facing Catholics?
I think most people have realized that secularism is obviously a big one. You've got religious freedom, certainly in the West. These are the big issues, and I think those are certainly increasing. But that's what you see a lot in the Vatican. Those issues being front and center, and those are increasingly becoming more important, I think.
Even in Europe, secularism. In Latin America, Africa, I sense, is a little bit different.
Yes, yeah. Africa, where the faith is growing fastest, Asia, these have different priorities. But certainly in Europe, Latin America, and the West, it's all about religious freedom and secularism, which are the big flashpoints.
The past 15 years, the media landscape has also really changed. I mean, now I'm on Snapchat, and I'm sure you have all of your social media platforms that you have to keep up with. How has that trend changed the way you cover the Vatican, or hasn't it?
Well, it's become very much a 24-hour thing, as you know, and what the challenge it is that you want to make sure that the facts are correct before they go out, and often people want to beat the clock and get the stories out as quick as possible. But the important thing, certainly for us at the Register, is to try and get the facts right first before we put out any articles.
It's a good rule of journalism, no fake news here, right?
Well, that's right. That's our motto.
Right. What would surprise our viewers the most? Last question about covering the Vatican.
Covering the Vatican. I just think that probably the quirkiness of the Vatican is interesting.
How so?
Well, it's the smallest, I think it is the smallest state, and yet it is, it's sovereign. It has its own peculiarities, and
boy, is that diplomatic.
Well, but that all makes it very colourful, and and it's certainly now there's lots of contrasts and makes it very challenging in a way to cover. But that's makes it exciting,
and it's the beauty of it, right?
And it's the beauty of it, and I think there is a duty that we feel to get the truth out there, whatever, and put the truth first, and let the reader decide. So that's what we try to do at the Register.
And you do it very well. We love having you on our program. Thank you so much. Ed Pentin, Vatican correspondent for the Catholic Register.
Thank you, Lauren.